Oh, so, bro, man, the reason I called you this afternoon is because of what I've seen, on social media in the past 24 hours, and specifically the choice of the Jagaban himself and APC to select Senator Shettima as the running mate, VP choice for the APC platform for the next for 2023 election. The obedient folks, articulated people, batified, social media influencers, young people, old people, Bishop Kuka, everybody has, said something about this.
That's something to say.
Yeah, so I'm just interested I know you are busy, but I just said, let's quickly chat about this. Are you interested? Is it a big deal? What's up?
So I think the whole thing is just about the fact that both of them are on the same, are in the same religious group, right? Both of them are Muslims in Nigeria. The truth really is that for me personally, I don't care. I don't care if the two people on the ticket are of the same religion, In fact, I almost wouldn't care if they were from the same region. And when I say region now, I'm talking about the divides of the country. So the country is divided into north and south. I wouldn't really mind if we had, someone from the north. Let's say the president is from the northeast and he picks a running mate who's from the north central. I really don't care. But that is really dependent on the fact that I know those people, right? I believe in those people and I trust those people that they have my interests at heart, that they are good people. Then I know that it doesn't matter that they're, the question of where they're coming from is no longer, an issue for me. So for someone like me, it doesn't matter if people are in the same religion. However, I understand where Nigerians are coming from. I understand the fear. And in fact, I understand the mischief, that, surrounds things like this. Because you find people that are okay with the choice, right? They don't have a problem with two people being from the same religion, but somehow they still want to, make it an issue. Why? Because of political interest. See what I mean? So someone like me, no, I don't care. I don't care.
That's interesting. But let's just look at what most people who are against this selection. First of all, of course, you can see that most people who are against it are already not fans of BAT. They're not fans of Jagaban himself. Let's look at what they are saying. First of all, Nigeria has been divided, by both religious, along religious and tribal lines.
Tribal lines, yeah.
So even when you look at what the PDP or almost every party that's major when it comes to the presidential race, they always make an effort to make sure that they pick people from different geopolitical zones, or at least north and south, divides, and then Christian Muslim divide, to be able to do something. I'll give you an example. When Buhari was running in 2015, he could have,
right.
Rumors. Let me put it that way. Rumors that, of course, is not 100%, fact, but proven yet. But rumors were that he could have selected Jagaban himself as his running mate. But that one of the reasons was that he's also a Muslim, so that would not be good for the merger, for the proposition at that point. So then he went, Jagaban brought, recommended Professor, Oshibanjo to go on and, he said, right?
Yeah.
And that became a winning formula, right? Other people have said, in support that, you have to choose somebody who you think is going to help you win the votes. And, Senator Shettima has won, as a governor, he has won re-election again in 2015, and then he has won as a senator to displace the incumbent at the time he became a senator. You know what I mean, right? So they're believing that he's a heavyweight, and that's just the reason why that choice was made. So other people say is mischievous. People have always said this, and for the whole 7 years of Buhari, Islamization of Nigeria. While I agree that there are discriminations, there are Buhari himself, is.
I mean, Buhari. Sorry to cut to interject.
Yeah.
Buhari himself is someone that I can't trust actually to, choose someone from the same religion and from the same sect. Sorry, from the same section of the country.
Yep.
And I'll be comfortable with it. No, I won't be comfortable, and I don't trust him to be able to do that and still maintain, balance and equity, in the country. He's not someone that I can trust with that, especially having followed his performance and his behavior in office, over the last 7 and some months, number of years that he's been in the saddle. I don't know if there's something else you wanted to say. Otherwise, I could just continue.
Oh yeah. So just continue. I think I'm liking your analysis.
So to be fair, it's not just people in other platforms that have kicked against BAT selecting Shettima as his running mate. We have people in the APC itself, right, who have kicked against it, and we have people who have resigned. We have people who, from what I hear, are going to protest to the president, that BAT took someone who is a Muslim from the north. I mean, Nigeria is a very complex country, and if you're outside Nigeria and seeing the things going on, sometimes it might boggle your mind. But when you exist in Nigeria, you grow up in Nigeria, you discover how complex it is, right, and how you have to balance feelings. But then, what I'll say is this: the citizens or the populace or voters, right? They are on one side of the hand. They are one hand, sorry. And then you have politicians on the other hand. The two hands have to come together to wash themselves, right? So you have politicians who react to what voters, right, want. They think that voters will, not vote for them because of certain choices that they make or certain things that they want to do. And then you also have, I'm talking about generally in the world. And then you have politicians also who do the things that they do, because of their selfish interest, which now rub off on the population and the population. So it's kind of like two hands that wash themselves. But I think that in Nigeria it is largely politicians who determine the narrative, right? Who determine what the populace and the voters value, what they come to, take as values when it comes to politics. And the politicians in Nigeria have been very, very mischievous with this power, so-called, that they have, right, to shape the narrative. They've been very, very mischievous. I believe that if politicians and if political parties have come together to say, I mean, they don't have to all come together as different political parties. I'm talking about the decisions that they make, in the political parties when they have their meetings and draft their constitutions. If they've taken a stand against zoning, against picking people based on, their religion, against picking people based on where they're coming from, right? if they've all these years taken a stand against that, the electorate would have immediately adjusted and seen that it is, there's really nothing, the heavens are not going to fall if someone picks running mate from the same religion. The voters, the electorate, they would have gotten used to it, and we wouldn't be having these discussions we're having right now. In any case, I like that these discussions are going on, and I like that what has happened, which is Bola Tinubu choosing this guy who is from the same religious faith as him. Because what that does is really to push us, higher in our civilization, in our development. So if somehow this ticket becomes a successful ticket, right, and they win the presidency, and then they go on to actually maybe even do some good in office, right? At least better than the current guy that is there right now, and better than the guy, that was there that won the elections in 2011. If they somehow perform better than them, and the entire country, no one feels left out really in the real sense of that word, then you find out that in the next or in the subsequent elections, it will become more of a non-issue. It might not be completely, taken away from the discussion table, but it wouldn't be as important as it is right now that the two people on the ticket have to be from different religions. You see what I mean?
Yep.
So like I'm saying, I feel that it is a good thing that it has happened, especially happened in a major political party. I mean, in other parts of the world, if you're a student of history and you've listened to I've read the histories of those countries, you discover that leaders and, presidents sometimes go against the electorate, against the popular, views and sentiments of the masses, go against them, pull them kicking and screaming into the next level of development. You see what I mean?
Yep.
And I'm thinking that is something that Bola Tinubu might want to display, which is some sort of stubbornness where, he as a leader of the country, as a president of the country, if he becomes successful, will pull people kicking and screaming into that next level of development and civilization, where we now start talking more about merit, about if the person can do the job, and less of where the person is coming from and what religion they practice.
Yeah.
What has happened is, sorry?
Let me just come in there. You're talking about merit and competence now.
Yeah.
So if we want to, bit of just zooming on Senator Shettima about, in terms of merit and competence and leadership, we all know that he was a governor, two-term governor in Borno State, correct?
Yeah.
And then, if you look back a bit also, he has, at least on paper, we know that he went to university. He's educated. He also has a master's degree in agriculture. He's well educated. He was a banker. In the Commerce Bank, and then he was a banker in African International Bank, and then he went to Zenith Bank, in Maiduguri, and then before he became a commissioner.
Bank manager.
Before he was a manager before he now became a commissioner in Borno State. So, I mean, he's a regular guy. As in, I was a banker too, so I see him as just somebody who grew and maybe had a luck or connections to now become a politician, and then he became a governor. So, in terms of that competence, he has what it takes as a human being to lead, right? And he has led Borno State, so now he's a senator. So, in that sense, I'm not worried at all.
About competence.
As a VP, if he's a human being that can lead, So, but But let's think about it for a minute also. Buhari has not done favors to this country, with his leadership. He's not only, surrounded himself with mostly Muslim people. He has also done so with incompetent people. So anytime people see Muslim, they start agitating, start sweating.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying that Buhari is the reason why we are here. I'm just saying that he has not done the narrative a
He has
favor.
not been sensitive
Yes.
to the diversity of the country.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I would let you continue, but I'm just saying that let's also, think about, where the young people, who have been watching for the past 7 years are coming from right now,
Well, to be fair, I think that Bola Tinubu has shown. I don't think anyone. Let me rephrase. I don't think anyone can come out and accuse Bola Tinubu of being a bigot.
Thank you very much. That's a good way to frame it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone can say he's being discriminatory when it comes to religion and when it comes to where someone comes from, right?
Correct.
We've seen this in his appointments, right? Even the Yoruba people he appointed into his cabinet are people from other states, right?
And they're capable most times too, they're capable most times.
And they're people, who can be said to be capable to an extent. At least they've been a good bunch, right? Amongst the entire maybe bad basket. Because if you look at it, you find out that those people, I mean, they did well, but it is relative to what other people did in other parts of the country. You see what I mean? So they are not standards that you're going to compare to somewhere outside the country and you say, yes, they did fantastic. No, you're not going to say that. But they've been the best so far.
I do have a lot of reservations about the man, Jagaban, BAT, right? I do have a lot of reservations, but I hope he is still the man, that he is been. Recently, I've seen him, talk somehow, especially desperate, like just a desperate guy who just wants to be president. I've not seen him, present a plan or a manifesto that is crystal clear. Maybe it's too early in the game, right? But I've only just seen him like
I don't think we've seen anybody. I don't think we've seen anybody present any manifesto that is crystal clear
right now.
I don't think so. No one out of the three most popular candidates, right? If you add NMPP, if you manage to add, and I don't add NMPP, but if you manage to add them amongst the four of them, I don't think there's anyone who's presented anything really, really clear. If you ask me, the thing with Jagaban is because you cannot accuse him of being a bigot and all. Some people will trust that he can govern the country with a fellow Muslim as his VP, and no one is going to feel left out because of his religion. There are a lot of people who would believe that and still go ahead to be with him. And to vote for him. The funny thing is that politicians, they make arguments according to what they want, according to their interests, to favor their interests, right? Because the same people that are saying right now that Tinubu is okay to run with another Muslim are the same people who, if he was someone else, or if he was just a couple of years ago, or maybe even in the future, right, will find a reason to say that someone should not run, maybe a Christian should not run with a fellow Christian, or maybe another Muslim should not run with another Muslim.
Very, very true, yes.
So these things that they're saying, sometimes they don't really believe in what they're saying. They just make those points because they know that those things are dog whistles, and that it will get people to reject. You understand what I mean? To favor their own interests. So that's what they do. They don't do these things for the love of Nigeria. No. I mean, if it was so in 2015, then maybe Jagaban himself should have, agreed to become VP to Buhari, if that is really what they believe, that a Muslim can run with a Muslim. But I think that I think he was just forced to choose Shettima, because there's that prevalent school of thought that the influential people in the north, in the core north, are really Muslims, and that you don't have a Christian who is, influential enough to pull in the votes. You can't, you can't blame him for not, because I can't think of anyone who is a Christian over there who is strong enough. I can think of people who are Christians, but I don't know anyone who's strong enough to actually pull votes, right? Especially when you say that there's an Atiku. I don't believe that Atiku is the most popular person. I think the hype around him is just there's an overhype around him. I don't even believe he knows how to conduct elections, and I believe he's going to lose this one. He doesn't know how to campaign and carry himself. But there's this thing around him that people look at him and they feel that he can do it. I haven't seen, both in 2019 and now, I haven't seen, from him, that ability to campaign and get people. So what I was trying to say before I deviated was that you find an Atiku who is from the north, and there are people who are going to vote for him just because he's from the north. Therefore, you have to get someone who is equally, even if not as much influential as Atiku, but who has some influence around him. And I don't see any Christian, in the north. In someone that was saying that someone like Lalong, who's the governor of Plateau right now, should have been chosen. I mean, Plateau is not central. I don't know how popular he is in the northwest and in the northeast.
Yeah.
So they would have made their calculations in choosing. So for me, I don't care that he chose a Muslim ticket. Shettima is someone that I think has done relatively well for his people, relatively, because there's still a lot left to be desired, right? But I think he's done relatively well, and he has this reputation that looks somewhat like Tinubu's reputation, which is being able to spot talents. Because the current governor of Borno State, from what we read, from what we see, he looks like he's doing very well in Borno State, right? Given the situation he found himself. And he seems to be loved by people. He seems to be a straightforward, correct guy. And he was spotted and put in there really by the former governor, who is Shettima, who is a VP right now, candidate of the APC. So I think there's some competence there when you look at him. He looks like he knows what he's doing. He looks like he's someone who you can relate with and talk with.
And he's the current DG of the Tinubu campaign, presidential campaign right now.
Yeah, I think he was the DG. I don't think he's going to be the DG anymore.
They might move him out and then get somebody to.
Yeah, so sometimes that happens. I think in the US, Dick Cheney used to run the campaign for George Bush. They started looking for a VP, and after everything, they had to use Dick Cheney. In the early 2000s. So that happens. I mean, me saying all those things doesn't mean that I support them. I'm just looking at the facts and the things that they bring to the table, and maybe the arguments that they will be presenting to the Nigerian people. So we'll see how it goes.
Are you not going to say something like, "Oh, his wife is a redeemed church member, so
I mean, that is part of it
in the bedroom"?
No, it doesn't cancel out, and then people really make comments and statements that make no sense.
Exactly.
I don't understand. It's very sad that such statements are elevated in our political discourse.
Yeah.
So you see people saying, I mean, it is part of it that he has a wife who's a Christian, right? And I heard she's a Christian pastor.
Yeah,
that's what I heard.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it helps him. But people who now say things like it cancels out in the bedroom, and then people like Dino Melai who would make statements to support Atiku, statements
Atiku
like
married Igbo, he
Atiku
married
married.
Yoruba, he married Fulani, he married Hausa. Like,
What? It doesn't. That doesn't make any sense because that you married a Yoruba person doesn't mean you like Yorubas.
true.
That you married an Igbo. There's something called misogyny and misandry.
Yeah, you know
Right?
how they say it in America, oh, I married a black woman or I married a black man, so I can't be racist.
Exactly. Exactly. You can hate women and still get married to a woman.
Yep.
You
True.
can hate men and still get married to a man.
True.
You can hate blacks and get married to a black. You can, all those things. So those things don't make any sense. And it is a shame that we're at a stage in our development where we make such statements and we elevate those statements to the top of national discourse. Those are things we have to leave behind if we're to grow in our politics. But yeah, like I said, I don't think it doesn't. If I had decided to vote for Bola Tinubu,
This wouldn't change
that
anything.
this wouldn't change anything. If I hadn't decided to vote for him, it wouldn't change anything. For
Okay.
me, both of them, their policies that they bring to the table is what I'm going to be looking at.
Okay, so let's talk about solution to this kind of issue now. So how do you think that going from here, I mean, you've talked about if Tinubu wins, then maybe the way he behaves will further push that discussion, this national discourse of faith,
Yeah.
in a different direction. But let's say he doesn't win, but generally, like, in our polity, what are the kind of things that politicians should be talking about? What are the kind of things we as, electorates, what are we supposed to be looking at so that we can, polish this, politics to, make more sense? Because whether we like it or not, this faith and, religious and tribal sentiments are real in people. The grassroots out there voting. People in the north, they think about it. People in the south think about it. Christians think about it. Muslims think about it. In fact, our pastors are in the fray. When you think about 2014, 2015, like Pastor Mbaka, RCCG pastors, people talk. I mean, it's part of life. So what do you think? Do you have any, is there anything that we're supposed to be looking at, for us to change this mindsets?
I think it's simple. We've complicated politics so much in Nigeria that you have politicians talking about things they shouldn't talk about, spending their time doing things they shouldn't spend their time doing, right? Just because people are hungry, you have to appeal to certain sentiments. I mean, when people are hungry, it's not just that you have to share money to them to get them to vote for you. It's also that they're running around looking for food to put on the table today and tomorrow, that they don't have time, right, to start thinking about ideas that are much more civilized, much more,
Abstract or
abstract. If it's only when people are fed, they're full, that's when they have time to now be, just take away hunger from the land, right? You find out that people, they already have food, they already have like basic comforts, basic amenities. They can now start thinking about the next thing. Do you understand? You have some of these other countries that we all run to. They're no longer talking about the food to put on the table today or tomorrow. They're talking about some,
abortion rights, gay
at another
rights,
level. They're talking about something else,
military development, like gun
right.
rights.
Yes. So that is how our politics is, and unfortunately, politicians have to, waste their time trying to fit into that system. But what really I would love them to talk about, at least talk more about, in today's, in the elections going to happen next year, and in the campaigns they're going to have this year, is really how they are going to solve people's problems. Problems, they are very glaring. Problems of unity, right?
Yep.
Big problem of unity, which affects the other big problem of insecurity,
Yep.
right? Which affects the other problem of economy, right? So you see that all these problems are linked. So if you start talking about how you're going to fix those, and you're actually giving concrete plans of how to fix them, right? Of course, you have to tailor your messages to the different audiences you're going to talk to. So if you go to Lagos, for example, to talk to tech boys, you have to know how to tailor your message. So the tech boys or the creatives or whoever it is in lag is going to, know that he has a place in your government and the policies that your government is going to draft, right? When you go to what is it called now, Mambila, for example, you have to be able to talk to those people about how they can create wealth with the things that are around them and how you as a president can help them do that when you get into office. You understand what I mean?
Correct.
How you're going to, and those are the things. I mean, luckily for him, P2B, he's talking about those things. Of course, he hasn't started going around to actually tell people, what he's going to do specifically for them. He's been putting it out on social media, on the internet. So you watch his videos, you see the things that he says. You understand what I mean? But of
Yep.
course, the guy in Mambila Plateau might not even have enough data to watch those videos that he's putting out. So he
Correct.
doesn't know that he's talking about something about their coffee, about the tea that they can grow in those places, about power generation in those places, right? So I think they should start talking about the issues and play less of divisive politics. For the people, I think they should start demanding for those issues. And it is a good thing that there's a huge section of the society that has woken up, right?
That's right.
And they want to hear the issues. So you see a lot of people who support P2B, they don't care that that man is Igbo. See what I mean? We're having discussions right now that we've never had before in the elections past. So the electorate should keep demanding that, the politicians are talking about those things that are important to them. The unity, the diversity, those are the things really that they should be thinking about.
That's right. So thanks. That's good. So I'm also thinking. I'm hoping that. I'm hoping that in the coming, election campaigning, I'm hoping that Nigerians will have a lot of chance to, ask questions directly and get answers. Maybe town hall meetings or rallies where we can interface directly with the top 4 candidates, who, who are looking for our votes, because most of the times you can even see in elections, sometimes the presidential candidates, they don't go out for debates, and the debates are sort of unorganized or skewed, or the questions are not what Nigerians are trying to ask, So I just hope that, and that's what social media has done, if you look at it actually, because even though social media is not where, the votes are cast, or is not where, is not, doesn't show all subsects of the country, that is where most of the tackling and, tough questions have started. Most of this campaigning that you see now for, P2B, and, most of that movement started from, social media, and it's being used to propagate and move to real life and, on the ground. So I hope that, we can ask these guys questions. That's the truth. And I hope that they can give us questions and we can keep, turning it around. And we shouldn't let anybody off easy. We shouldn't let anybody off easy. We should ask everybody, tough questions.
You know what? I think the electorate should start shouting down candidates when they start talking. when during the campaigns they mention anything about ethnicity, about
Yes.
religion.
Yes,
I
I
think
agree
they
with
should
you.
start. If you come to a campaign ground and you start talking about those things that have already divided us, I think you should be shouted down, right? I
Absolutely.
understand for political purposes, balancing your ticket, going to another part of the country to get a running mate. I can understand that. It's political balancing. But when you elevate that, to be like, someone is a Muslim, someone is, oh, this person is from the East, this person is therefore don't vote for him because he's from the East, then I think people should start shouting them down. Now, there's a large illiterate unenlightened section of the society. It's not
Mhm.
their fault. It's just that the government hasn't done well when it comes to education and some of these other things. So they are in that state. So those people are going to be listening to those messages. But the enlightened ones, right, should start shouting down those people when they start mentioning those things. Nigeria has to do better. We have to do it. We can't continue like this. And we already know we know our problem. We know the things that have caused us these problems, right? And the things that have put us in this situation, right? So we need to start leaving those things behind and start doing better. There's no other way around it. Yeah, we have to make tough decisions.
Absolutely. So I just want to say, this what you just said now just reminds me of, it's a bit of digression, but
Yeah.
this lady Rashida scored a goal for the female team yesterday.
Mhm. Yeah.
Her name is Rashida, and she posted on Twitter, "Thank you, Jesus." Before you have to see her comments, how many other Muslims went there and were like, "Your name is Rashida, and you are thanking Jesus. Thank Allah first." Those. But they forgot. They don't know. Most of them don't know that she has converted to the Christian faith, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, religion riles up our people so fast and so hard.
Yeah.
Um, we carry this thing. And Christians do this thing sometimes. So we just almost all our decisions are based on that, and then we slice it down with where you're coming from. So
And
it's tiring. It
the
doesn't pay.
thing about religion though. Religion is simply an accident of birth. That's what it is.
True. Most times, yes. Yeah.
You weren't born, grew up, right? And then you were now presented, they sat you down on the table and presented two theses to you: Christianity, Islam. I'm
Yeah.
taking just those two religions.
Yeah.
There are other religions out there in Nigeria. Nobody sat you down to give you those two and told you to choose.
Choices. Yeah.
Simply because you were born somewhere in the north to a family who's Muslim, you became a Muslim.
Mm-hmm. True.
Probably you haven't even studied the Bible to know, whether maybe this is a better way of life. Simply because I was born in the South, to a Christian family, I became a Christian. I haven't even studied the Quran, to see if there is something, if that is the way to go. So it's an accident of birth. So why do we hold these things so hard? And if we weren't born in Nigeria, or if the people who came back then didn't come, the Arabs who did the conquering, back in the day, and the whites, the Europeans who came after them, if they hadn't come and brought religion,
We could be animists right now. We could be
we would have been
traditional.
animists.
Yeah.
We would have been animists, and we would have been looking at those people as, I'm talking about, I might very likely still have been born, likely, right? But just because these people did not come, I wouldn't have been a Christian.
Yeah. Very true.
So they are so I don't I'm not saying anybody should leave their religion because you believe what you believe, but then I need people to consider the things that made them who they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And know that if those things weren't there, right, you wouldn't have become a Muslim, you wouldn't have become a Christian. It's just an accident of birth. So when people take these things, as when they do some of the things that they do in the name of religion, it's just bewildering to me personally.
Sounds good, man. Thank you very much. I mean, we've talked about this development, APC newly selected running mate for VP. We've spoken about his credentials, sound person. We talked about ramification of this religious effect on our polity as Nigerians, as politicians, how politicians have used this as tools to conquer and divide. And we've also talked about things that we as electors can do to change this narrative. And we look forward to a better Nigeria. And for me, I'll just say at this point, this meeting should be adjourned.